going to do this morning is we're going to do some wedging and then we're going to do some kneading. Over the last few years, a lot of people actually have sort of put the two processes together. So some people will say the wedging, some people will say the kneading. Originally, there were two very distinct processes. Wedging was what we did before we had things like pulp mills. It's a way of bringing the clay together, so mixing hard and soft, or maybe bringing two types of clay together. So for clarity, what we're going to do is we're going to use a terracotta clay and a buff stoneware. And so there's lots of contrast. So you'll see that when we bring the two clays together, you'll see how we gradually bring them together to make one homogeneous mass. And then we'll go on to the actual kneading of the clay afterwards. Wedging. The idea is you can bring two clays of different colours together, or two clays of different consistency together. What we've done here, we've used a terracotta and a buff clay to show you the sort of contrast and how that the colours gradually break up and come together. The idea is that you layer alternating layers of clay, so red, buff, and then by knocking that into a block, we then cut through and then layer alternately. So you're gradually breaking the clay up into sort of checkerboards. And we keep doing that until we've more or less brought the two colours completely together. What we're going to do now we've wedged the clay and brought the two colours together, the buff and the red, we can now knead the clay. And the kneading is to get a nice homogeneous mass and also to expel air so that the clay is in perfect condition for either throwing or hand building or whatever your process may be. we're going to do the two different types. First we're going to do bull's head or ram's head, and then we're going to do a spiral, or as some people refer to it, shell. I personally prefer shell or spiral because you can use a larger quantity of clay and it's much easier to handle, whereas when you're doing bull's head or ram's head you're actually rotating the entire mass, whereas with shell a smaller mass is passing through the hand and you're actually moving a larger quantity of clay. Right, this first one is bull's head or ram's head, and as you can see during the process you can see the mass rotating. The idea is that the mass rotates on the spot, so you're not moving up or down or to the side of the bench. Every so often you stop, bring it into a solid mass, and then we cut through, check inside, and you can actually see the sort of spiral of the clay inside mixing the mass together, and you keep doing that until there's no trace of the two separate clays. We're also checking for air pockets. If you see air trapped still inside, then you carry on with the kneading process until all air is removed and the two clays have been brought together as one. With the bull's head we're only halfway through the process, so you can see where we've cut the clay in half, you can see that there is still a trail of the two clays inside, a like sort of slight swirl of the grey in the red. What we would normally do is carry on with that process until the two clays are brought together completely. Okay, this is the second version of kneading, and this is the shell or spiral. This is my personal preference because you can use a larger quantity of clay but only a small amount of clay is actually passing through the hands. You'll actually see this, it'll become more evident as we actually knead the clay. With the spiral you can actually see the clay rotating underneath the hand with that sort of characteristic spiral, but you can also see there's only a very small amount of clay actually travelling through the hands. So this enables you to actually knead larger quantities of clay without having to actually physically rotate the entire mass. Part way through we've stopped and you can actually see a small particle of air that's been brought to the surface and has just popped. Very often when you're doing this, if the clay is in a very bad condition, you can actually hear the air crack as it comes out. Once you feel that the clay is in the right condition, you rotate the mass and bring it together until you've got one solid lump. You can then knock that into a square, and then we're cutting through, and when we open up you'll see that now the complete bringing together of the two colours of clay is complete, and there is no sort of spiralling marks or traces of the lighter clay in the dark clay.